Right.
Awesome.
Well, welcome, everybody. Happy to have you on today. Today we've got a special presentation from IMA. They're going to talk to us about building a culture of safety, and they're coming to us from the standpoint of partners in the network and how it is that we pull this kind of thing together strategically, and some of the work that they've done to prove that in the past. So happy to have them here today to give us a brief presentation. For those of you that have questions on the tail end, we'll keep the room open for as long as folks have time. But we'll run about 30 minutes for the content today. And without further ado, Jonathan, if you'd like to take over and introduce you and your team who's presenting today, and we can get things going.
Absolutely, Lawrence. Thanks for the platform and the partnership. Squad, we're Jonathan Schrader, Executive Vice President at IMA, supporting the risk management and property casualty insurance policies for a number of nonprofits and social service organizations like your CAPS. We're proud to consider CAPSLO. Adriana is here joining us from CAPSLO among some of our long-term clients, and we've been heavily invested in the CAP space for about 10 years now. Cap Long Beach is another partner, and actually Cal Cap is a client of ours as well. While our job is to procure insurance policies, where we really, and I'm joined by colleagues Taylor Bridges, who supports employee benefits, and Melissa Shagian, who's my partner in the property casualty side. This is not going to be a pitch for insurance. That's not what this is all about. We really believe in managing risk is one of the cornerstones to making for good organizations. And Capslo, over the last few years, has seen a rise in their experience modification factor. If you understand what that number is related to your workers' comp, it's the one place I believe that organizations have the greatest opportunity to control their costs by managing a good X mod. I'm not going to spend too much time explaining what that is, but just trust that it's in your control and good loss history you can benefit from, and poor loss history you're going to get penalized from. And so if that's the case, then building a culture of safety, which always starts at the top, becomes of paramount importance. And so Adriana reached out and asked our team, Stephanie DeBriga in particular, who supports these exercises, in helping come up with a game plan that would help trickle down this idea from the leadership. There's got to be buy-in at the top, and it's got to sort of make its way down through the organization to have an impact. And so over much of 2025, Adriana and Stephanie spent a lot of time bringing this program we're about to share with you to Capslo. And we thought the impact was strong enough that it was worth sharing with others. So Stephanie, I leave the balance of time we have to you and Adriana to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you. So, just want to set the stage here. I'm Stephanie Nobriga. I oversee risk control for all of the West and the Pacific Northwest. And one of my clients and longtime clients is Capslo. I've been working with Adriana for many, many, many years. So the relationship goes back a long time, and we've been working on risk control and safety for Capslo in many different areas, compliance mainly driving the force here, us making sure procedures are in place, IPPs in place, all the policy or the programs necessary, required, regulatory programs are in place. I'm also ergonomist, so I was out there doing a lot of ergonomic work for them for many, many years. So we've been working on this for a long time. Just recently, probably last year, Adriana came to me and she says, we've been having talks within leadership, and what we're just not seeing the needle move the way that we think it should be based on what we're doing, the things we're putting in place. I mean, you guys even got the Golden Gate Award for through Cal OSHA, which is saying a lot, because that means that you have the compliance piece down. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? And then she said, but we're not seeing the needle move. We're not seeing, and everybody's saying there's got to be more to it than this. And I said, there is, and there's some things that I've been working on, and that is building a culture of safety. And we know this from, going way back. We talk about behavior-based safety, and these are all those things that you want to put in place. But the client, the company, the organization has to be ready. They have to be ready to implement this type of program, and Capslo is ready. They're ready to launch into it. So I introduced this four-part training series. And it wasn't, this training series wasn't to fix everything. This training series was to launch this idea so that we understood what building a safety culture was all about. So building a safety culture goes so far beyond anything, when it comes to policies, procedures, regulatory compliance, just as what I was talking about. Well, the rules, the training, the program, they're all essential. They're essential parts of what you're doing for lasting change. But true safety culture is reflected in those everyday things that you're doing, right? Behaviors, decisions, attitudes, how work is performed. And I say this really very intentionally when nobody's looking. So this is what we're doing on a day-to-day when nobody is seeing what we're doing, right? What your people on the floor are doing when nobody is looking. And it's how risks are identified and addressed and how leaders, employees alike, take shared ownership. Instead of it being owned by the top or owned by the middle, everybody in the organization now owns that process. Organizations that succeed in building a strong safety culture understand that safety is not just that one-time initiative or a box you check. So we all know that when you're looking at safety regulation, where you're looking at it from a regular standpoint, it is a lot of box checking. You're checking this box. I did this. I did this. I got the IPP done, and now I'm working on the HAZCOM program. And now we just launched workplace violence regulation, and I'm checking that box off, right? So it's a lot of box checking, but it's going to go beyond that because it's about the communication. It's about the engagement at all levels, though. We're talking executive leadership, middle leadership, all the way to your boots on the ground, your employees, and everybody feeling empowered to speak up. So when safety becomes a part of the organization's identity, and that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to shift the culture over to a mindset of this is who we are, as opposed to here are the boxes that we're checking, or this is what management is requiring of me as an associate. This session is going to explore what it truly means to build a safety of culture. Why traditional compliance-driven approaches they fall short because they don't address the root cause of what has happened historically and maybe where we're at as an organization when it comes to safety and health. So many CAP clients, and I'm just going to say that CAP clients that I work with continue to experience those high frequency, XMOD, just as Jonathan pointed out, severity, particularly in areas which are predictable and preventable. So these are preventable things too that we would go over, every time that we would discuss claims. While the organizations are they're fully compliant and they're present. They're present with their program. They're doing the things that they need to do. Compliance alone has not resulted in fewer claims. It just hasn't been really moving the needle the way that we want it to. So this highlights the reality. Meeting regulatory standards is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Historically, much of the training provided, such as lifting techniques, ergonomics, is which we did a lot of, have been largely transactional in nature. So we go out there, we do the training, people listen, and then they go back to work, right? The efforts focused on delivering information rather than changing behaviors, mindsets, day-to-day practices. So as a rule, the impact was limited and short-lived. So the key realization is that compliance and discussing claims during safety committee meetings, they don't automatically create a culture of safety. So what we're thinking when we're in these safety meetings is that somehow it's gonna get to the root cause of everything, and that we're gonna make some headway that way, right? But it doesn't seem to be holding true. A true culture of safety goes beyond all of that. It requires active engagement and shared ownership, and that's what we're going to talk about during these next slides. Building a culture of safety means shifting that mindset. So what did we do with CAPS Flow? So our approach is centered on shifting the focus from compliance-driven to culture-driven, okay? So we've kind of said that a couple of times, where leadership and management position as primary drivers of meaningful change. Rather than viewing safety as regulatory, we're going to start embedding it into our everyday, what we do every day as leaders. we take a grassroots approach that builds awareness and accountability through conversations, so reflective in the practices, practical action. So this model encourages open dialogue about real world change, right? Allows teams to learn from experience and promote shared responsibility for the outcomes. To support it, some of the things that we did was this 4-part training module series. And that was where the conversation began. And it was very interesting. So what I did was, because this was webinar based, which can kind of isolate you or silo you, we made it, number one, mandatory that everybody's cameras had to be on. Everybody's cameras had to be on because we needed to see everybody, right? And during the session, we also encouraged dialogue. So I embedded these pause moments within the training every few slides where we're talking about what was involved in supervisor manager challenges, and what revolved around that was some of the challenges that supervisors and managers have, and talking about those challenges in the moment, and having their staff bring up their challenges, which was really important, because what it did was it created this automatic whiteboard where Adriana was documenting all of these things that they were talking about, because some of this stuff she'd never heard of before. She didn't know that there were even challenges that they were experiencing. So just understanding what kind of challenges supervisors and managers were experiencing was the first step in kind of understanding, where is our culture right now? Where do we stand as an organization? We went through that whole series, and it really did foster a lot of curiosity and a lot of discussion and team-based problem solving, because in the moment they were saying, well, what if we did this, or what if we did that? And they wanted to make meaningful change in the moment because they were looking at it from a different lens, in a different way than they had in the past. I don't know, Adriana, if you want to add any color here, but you're welcome to add any color if you'd like.
I really appreciate, the training. We were, prior to COVID, we were under 100, and I knew that we could get there, but we needed extra help, so I really I reached out Stephanie, like, let's focus on this. And so also we did the OSHA. One of the things, I don't know if you're going to discuss, she helped us have the OSHA 10 training the previous year. So we're headed in the right direction, but this actually, we used this as a, like a little springboard for other initiatives, and actually to engage everybody. So it was really nice. It was really nice, that engagement during the training.
Thank you. The next part was safety culture. So talking about what safety culture, what meaningful safety culture is for an organization and how it needs to shift. So we went through that session. We went through assessing hazards. So these are the 4 parts that we thought were really important to shifting the culture, was talking through them. Assessing hazards and what that looks like, what it should look like when you're really assessing hazards. Accident investigation. So these were the 4 parts that we went through. And then that interactive design, encouraging dialogue, curiosity, discussion, a team-based approach to problem solving, and lasting impact. So that's the 4-part series that we went through. The progress and catching up with Adriana just recently on this, but the progress and observations. So what we're seeing, and I will say, just as recently as the claims review that I was sitting on today, where we were listening to one of the site managers talk through some difficulties that she was having at one of her sites. And practically everybody at that site now is gone, and they're having to rebuild it. And now when they're rebuilding it, what they've discovered is that, you know what, we need to start having dialogue differently with our people. So we're going to put in some training modules about communication, about how we can communicate with each other more effectively at these locations, and try to find the root cause of some of these things that are occurring at our sites. And that was so great to hear, because that was a direct result of some of the training, that the 4-part training that we just had done with the organization. Other areas we're seeing encouraging progress, participation in growing among supervisors and managers, coming together and realizing that there are some, gaps in some of the policies that they had. One of them, so there were three main initiatives just right away out of the training that came from the training that we did. So one of those was shifting to an acknowledgement that's sent out to every single associate annually, and just making sure that they know how to report an injury, when to report it, and who to report that injury to. And that is going to be done every single year instead of just when they're hired. So they kind of realized that there was a gap in a communication policy there. And so that they wanted to go back and say, hey, you know what, let's communicate this every year and have people sign off on this. And let's make sure that they understand what to do if they are injured, and the process, with that. Another thing came with when we were talking about accident investigations, and we talked through accident investigation and what's involved there, and they realized their form maybe wasn't up to snuff, and that they wanted to go back in. And so Adrian and I met on the investigation form. We went through what should be included on this accident investigation form, what should it look like, and then they went back and they reworked the whole thing so that every site manager, every supervisor has that same form, and that they're working from a form that makes more sense for their organization. Another thing that came from it, and I think this is huge, is that now on every claims review, they have a high-level manager that sits on the reviews, because typically it would be Adriana, and it would be maybe, HR, maybe HR would sit on the review. But now they've got a high-level, senior-level manager that sits on the review and reviews every claim with them. So her insights and her input now can help them move that needle along when they're talking about the reactive side, right? Because we know what we're doing is really the proactive side of risk, right? We're on the proactive side of risk. So those are some of the observations. We're just seeing some great change occur. One of the things that I want to see implemented, and I know that this is something that we're still talking with Adriana about, is a perception survey. So the perception survey is for those organizations that are ready to hear how they're doing when it comes to safety. So you roll out perception surveys across your organization, and a lot of times they have nothing to do with safety and health, but this one's specifically for safety and health. So we at IMA roll this out for you, and it goes out to each one of the associates at Capslo, and it's going to basically give Capslo their grade when it comes to safety and health. So you got to be ready to hear how all of your associates feel and how they're going to grade you on your safety performance. And with that grade, we work on all of these initiatives that we're working on, and we have other initiatives that we're working on this year. And with that, at the end of the year, we roll out another perception survey to see what is the perception there. As we rebuild this safety culture, we are making it a safety culture where everybody's involved from top to bottom. So it has to be senior level all the way to our entry level folks involved in building and establishing and owning the safety program. And it also has to be embedded in everything that you do. So it can't be a separate initiative away from other initiatives. It has to be embedded into the whole culture of the organization. So one of the last things I wanted to talk through was the importance of buy-in. And this is an important one. We talked about this during one of our trainings, and it's foundational for success of this program, or any program, really. We know that. Leadership commitment is essential. So we need to have that top level buy-in. And in this case, you guys got it, because you now have somebody in that top leadership role that sits in on the claims. Essential visible support from leaders, expectations, and it'll just shape the organizational norms. When the leaders consistently model the safe behavior and prioritize it, so walking the walk, talking the talk, super important for buy-in. People need that buy-in. What we found is that a lot of times at the ground level, what people see is when they see presentations like this, or they see similar things where they, it's like, oh, now what are they doing? Now what are they trying to get us to buy into? So it's really making sure that people know that this is here to stay, and that we're not going to just talk about it and then leave it and not talk about it, for another year. This is something that we're going to work on ongoing, and it's going to be a shared approach. So next step is to continue embedding culture into building a framework around what we do every day within the operation. And we're going to continue to work with Capslow on this. And I think that, Adriana, you mentioned something that you're going to roll out this coming year. I know that we've got OSHA 10. We did OSHA 10 a few years ago because we wanted everybody to have a foundation or a base. So we did it on site in person. We did OSHA 10 for all of the staff, and we're going to roll it out for Spanish speakers because we think it's really important to speak in a language that everybody understands. So we'll be rolling that out this coming May. And that's pretty much the presentation. Anything that you want to add here, Adriana?
Let's see. I think that we're on the right path. I think we can get back to where we were. And I really like that now the division director, and many of you guys might know her, she took Bill Castellanos, when he retired, Belinda Sokolowski. So I meet with her from that. After the training, we started meeting once a month. We go over all her claims, and then she has her managers and she'll follow up like what happened here, what happened here. So it's just really, it's so helpful. And as we know, XMODs, there's a 3-year, period that it needs to be considered and they drop off. But we're very hopeful about the future. And we know we can get back there under, 100%, we can lower our XMOD. So I think we're on the right path. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I think that we have a really good team with, partnering with IMA. So Stephanie's been very, very helpful to us. And I know that I can ask her questions around, Stephanie, what about this? So she's very, very helpful. I really, really appreciate that.
We'd always work together on the compliance side all the time, and we've been doing that for many years. This has been a definite wonderful shift, and we're excited. We're excited to see the results are of hard work over the next few years, because as we know, and as most of you know, and changing a culture is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's something that's going to have to happen over a period of time, which at least the next 3 years we'll be working on this.
Adriana, you're fortunate in my experience with CAPS. You're kind of a unique position that you hold. For context for our guests, can you share the title and role you have for Capslow?
Well, I wear several hats. So I've been with the company for 25 years. I am the safety and workers' compensation officer. So anything related to any injuries, policy, safety inspections, anything related to safety within the organization. And you may know we're in 11 counties. We have over 90 sites. So it's a lot. So I do work Monday through Thursday. I do have someone that covers. One of the things that we found very helpful is to have a dedicated workers' comp email. Anything related to workers' comp goes to that email, and I have access to that email. My supervisor and a person that assists me on Thursday. So we go through this email, anything related to employee injury, and all supervisors know that they're going to get a response right away. And so anyway, yeah, so anything related to safety and workers' comp, and then support team here at Human Resources as needed. If someone's out of the office, so okay, well, put on your little benefits hat, or somebody, so other areas. So he's been
Our
very
guests
busy.
here, Monica, Joyce, you're going to pick on you because your cameras are on, but do you have a similar role in your organizations that specifically focus, or is it just sort of a general safety falls to HR and whoever picks up the phone gets to jump in and help? And Monica, I see you nodding your head. It falls to you a bit?
No, actually, we have a dedicated HR rep that
Oh, you do?
workers' comp.
Okay, awesome.
But I sit in on the quarterly reviews, and I work with her, and if she's out, anybody in HR will answer that workers' comp question.
I couldn't, I had a minute and I was sort of, while Stephanie was presenting, took a look. I see both Monica and Joyce, your XMODs have spiked a little bit over the last couple of years. Has there been talk about, and I don't mean to pick on you, just you were the two cameras that were on, but has there been talk about how to address that? What a culture of safety might look at your organizations? Can you share, either one of you, what your experience has been there?
I think it's an ongoing. We already, in looking at the presentation, are doing maybe half of the things that you all are doing.
Good.
It's looking at some of the other things that you've suggested, like, the annual reminder. We're much smaller in Capslow.
Sure.
But just those extra things might help our mod. And we are so cyclical that our X mod will go up and then we'll just dip down.
Plummet. Yep. Yep. Noted. Joyce?
So in our organization, California Human Development, I oversee both HR and risk and safety. So we have an HR person looking at actually the claims, but then we have someone overseeing kind of the risk with HR and workers' comp. We have a safety committee every
Great.
month. There's a representative from every office. We have about 20 different offices. So there's a safety coordinator from every office. We have started to do across the board quarterly safety trainings that our broker does the training. And it's more than just really talking about safety. He brings in kind of the leadership aspect of how to be a good leader with a safety focus. We talk about, we do a lot of, we use our insurance broker we're doing a loss control visit for one of our sites. It's more geared toward the actual tenants, but, kind of looking at that. We regularly have the workers' comp kind of specialists from our insurance do help us do safety inspections. We do safety drills. We have quarterly safety drills. In our safety committee, we changed the title a couple of years ago to Safety, Health, and Wellness, trying to
I
encompass
like it.
the whole thing about what safety is and wellness. And so one of the things we always start out those meetings with is a meditation, kind of a calm meditation.
Sure. Yeah.
We try to get people kind of in a certain headspace. We have awards for safety, for recognition of safety. We have really tried to bring safety in top of mind. The idea is that every day you should be working safely.
Yeah.
Safety, accidents don't just happen. They can always be prevented. So we just did a kind of a projection of our experience bond, and it was very high. And so it went from last year 228, which is really high, down to hopefully about 153, with the idea to get under,
That's
if we
great.
can get under that 100 point, that would be really nice. But
Yeah.
you know,
Well, that's progress. That's what I've always appreciated about the X mod. There's so few benchmarks in insurance in general to say how are we doing? We're investing in this. Is it working? Or have we just had dumb luck that either things have or haven't happened to us? And the X mod's a real rubber hits the road calculation against peer organizations that do the same work you do and help you understand if there's progress. So congrats on that, and thanks for sharing your context. I won't pick on Alyssa and Linda unless they want to share what their organizations are doing, but collectively, in support of Cal Kappa, would a periodic just meeting of the minds be of interest to you to share the practices that everyone's doing in the event that you're all rowing the boat in the same direction? You're all trying to accomplish the same missions and goals, I think. And you don't really compete with one another, right? You're all doing it, especially on behalf of California. If through Lawrence or separately, we organize sort of roundtables to do this semi-annually, quarterly, where you could share those and we could bring some of the thoughts we've experienced as well. Would that be of value? Alyssa's chiming in as a yes. So I'll take that as a positive. Monica, Joyce, that sounds good. Linda, can I talk you into it too? There's the thumbs up from Linda. Look at me. We're having a great day. And Adriana, you're of course going to be invited and probably our keynote for most of them. So because of how much you've leaned in. I appreciate your time. I recognize we're up against 1:30. Stephanie, thanks for the presentation. For Joyce, Monica, Linda, Alyssa, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to stay on and answer what I can on behalf of Stephanie. I know she's got to jump, or we can connect offline and answer some more details. But anything we can help you out with in the short term?
No, I think I'm good.
Good. We've
Yeah.
recorded this too because I know you missed the first half, Joyce, but we'll make
Yeah.
sure you see the deck. You're right. This was 30 minutes. It wasn't meant to be a real in-depth how-to of changing lives, but I'm glad a couple of the points landed, and we remain a resource because this is a really important thing to help your organizations thrive.
Yes.
Awesome. Lawrence, did you want to call out any future programming from Cal Kappa?
I
I'm
appreciate that,
done. Thank you.
Jonathan. Yeah, and Stephanie, thank you both
Thank you.
for hanging out with us today, providing some really great information and spearheading a new group. That's really awesome.
Sure.
I always love pulling groups together in this network, and these folks know who's participating in our group. So, thank you for the offer there. We'll coordinate something. As you all know, our conference is at the end of the year, and maybe we'll touch on that at that time too. So, I'm always looking for great ways of spreading what's working and exploring new ways of solving challenges for the agency. So thank you very much for that.
You
Uh,
bet.
I've dropped a link in the chat to provide us a little feedback as we do. We really appreciate what you can tell us. All we request is that you answer the one question on the front end, and then you're welcome to give as much or little clarification to that as you like. But thank you very much for that in advance. Thank you to IMA. Really appreciate your partnership here, providing some pretty good information for agencies, both that are attending and those that are watching this recording. So thanks a
Thank you.
lot.
Very
Bye.
good.
Thank you,
For all your
everybody.
time. Thanks for all your work you're doing.
Thanks.
Bye.